Hello everyone. Today I'll be teaching you how to use Glider. Glider is a code query engine that you can use to run variant testing. And if you're a smart contract security researcher, you can simply write queries to describe scenarios that can happen in a smart contract, and Glider will fetch contract for you that met that condition. This way you are able to put your bug hunting career on autopilot. All right, so let me show you around. This is the interface. And when you're done writing your query, this is where you press run. And with run, your query will run and you'll see your results here. You can also download your results as a JSON when you are done and also copy your code easily. This is the guide for you to kind of understand how Glider works. If you want a quick overview, then you can check the performance here. You can come here to select the chain you want. For example, if you want to test this on Ethereum mainnet, which is not yet available, you can simply select Ethereum mainnet or ZK Sync. And I think in the future, there will be something like select all for scanning all blockchains. You can also create a custom scope and write your query here or import your Python query, and that's how to get started. Right now, let's kind of come up with a query that searches for read-only reentrancy. And by the way, you can only use Python with Glider. And if you don't really know how to write Python, I'll encourage you to check some other part of my YouTube channel where I have been teaching about how to write programs in Python. So let's get started. We'll have to import Glider. By the way, this is quite the reason you cannot run this query in your local VS Code or IDE. You have to install Glider, and I haven't really seen a pip installation command that gets Glider. That's why the best IDE to use so far is still the same Glider IDE. So we can simply start by saying from Glider import. Then just keep reading the code as I write. So this is where you define query. But before we go on, I should show you a couple of API endpoints you should always use when you're trying to write stuff on Glider. Without knowing this API point, you wouldn't really be able to write queries very well with the Glider IDE. So these are the API endpoints. Function callee values, it will fetch you the values. It will fetch you the properties, or what we call parameters in Solidity. So function to execute modifier. This gets you the modifier, next block, next instruction, execute, argument, gas, salt, value, argument variables, global variables. These are the kind of the basic API endpoints you need to bear in mind. And that said, let's get back to writing our main query. So we can say instructions is assigned to functions. So the main thing we are trying to explain in this line is to get only one property, and it should be only functions with that are public functions or marked as external functions. We used this without modifier names, as you can see. This is another variant of modifier exec. So without modifier names, and we specify non-reentrant, lock, and only owner. This simply means that the functions, the public or external functions we have queried here should not have these modifiers. In other words, we are trying to see functions, critical functions that don't have non-reentrancy and only owner checks. Let me take a minute to explain this. So we are trying to say that the arguments it should have address and argument. Then we want to ensure it has balance up. Then the result should be in an array, as you can see. I want to run a loop through the instructions. I'll encourage you to code along so you can have a proper feel of how to really write queries with Glider. So, like we are doing, we are trying to write these conditions that calling names will return the list of call functions in the instruction. Then we'll take all the instructions that come after transfer from, check that we have a balance of, and now append it. So let's go ahead to append by saying results Remember, we already created the results variable here. Exactly. So right now we'll say results dot append. In Python, we use append to add, of course. So append the ints. We created ints here as a loop, ints in instruction. So ints. We can break here. You can break out of the loop. Then say return results. That said, let's try to run our query. We have a couple of syntax errors. Apparently, this is my Solidity self showing up here. It shouldn't have been a semicolon, it should have been a proper colon. We are writing Python. So let's run it, fix all of our bugs. Now our query is done, and we can see the results here. So let's kind of check them out. So the query we wrote here matches this function in this contract, data union sidechain. As you can see, compound prover 2 has the same vulnerability, compound provider as well. One thing to keep in mind when you are writing with Glider is that you have to get your indentations correctly, more like when you're writing Python. So Python is very indentation sensitive, unlike languages like Solidity. So if you want your queries to run easily, you have to keep this in mind and not mess up with the tabs and the indentations. When all that is done, you can see our results here. If you are a smart contract security researcher, you can, when you're done with the query and you see the live contract, you can probably try to report them on bulk pounding platforms and get paid for it. Which other tool would you want me to review next? Not only for security researchers, but also for developers? You can let me know in the comment and do well subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.